What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Purple and Gold podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about why the Chargers defense makes them contenders for the Super Bowl this year. So without further ado, let's get straight into this video. But before I do, I wanted to mention that although I do have a bunch of Minnesota Vikings stuff in my background, yes, I am a Minnesota Vikings fan, but this YouTube channel is going to be covering all of the NFL. We've been doing mock drafts for all the teams this offseason, and we're going to continue to do more content for the NFL in general. So if you're interested in any of that and like this video, consider subscribing. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking more about the defensive side of the ball for the Chargers. Not really too much of the offense because the offense is pretty much set. They have so many weapons, a high-powered team led by Justin Herbert. That's what kept them relevant last season. But this offseason, it was pretty obvious that the defensive side of the ball needed to be addressed, and the Chargers front office did a phenomenal job doing that in free agency and in the draft. So we're going to take a look at the pieces that they brought in, the pieces that they already currently have that I think could potentially make this team a top 5 unit in the league. All right, so the Chargers already have a great foundation of defensive players on their team, starting with Derwin James, who was an absolute steal a couple years back in the NFL draft. I still don't understand how he fell to the middle of the first round. You also have Joey Bosa, who's been one of the best edge rushers since he's entered the league. And then you also have young pieces like Asante Samuel in the secondary. So there's a lot with this team to still work with. And in addition to that, they made some pretty key free agent signings. So the first one that I want to talk about, and this is one that's kind of gone under the radar, is Austin Johnson. So Austin Johnson is a defensive tackle brought in from the New York Giants. Now, he's also kind of been overshadowed because you have Leonard Williams there, and then you have Dexter Lawrence on the other side. Austin Johnson was kind of just there. And if I'm being completely honest, I didn't really know who he was myself. I had to do a little bit of research, and shout out to my friend Micah, who's a Chargers fan. He told me a little bit of information about him. But he's a huge run stopper. Obviously not a guy who's going to make a lot of disruption in the passing game. But like I said, it's a huge run stuffer, one of the best running defensive tackles in the league. And his name is really never mentioned in any of that conversation. He's just doing his job, not getting a lot of recognition for it. So I think we're going to expect Austin Johnson to play in a lot of first and second down snaps, have another guy rotate in. But he's going to be a huge addition to this Chargers defensive line that is a 3-4 unit now under Brandon Staley. You saw the team have a little bit of a difficult transition to that new scheme. So I think year two, I think now that you have guys who are more experienced with the scheme, I could expect them to take a huge leap and become a really good unit this year in 2022. So along with Austin Johnson brought in on the defensive line to create a stronger run defense for the Chargers defense, you also have Sebastian Joseph Day, another guy who's very similar, but I think offers a little bit more than Austin Johnson in the run game. He's overshadowed, again, just like Austin Johnson, by guys like Aaron Donald and Von Miller, who are on that Rams defensive line last year. But Sebastian Joseph Day is going to make his money stopping the run. So look, the Chargers have made it a huge priority in finding guys who know how to fill in those gaps, make it easier on the linebackers to head up into the backfield and make some plays. The Chargers' run defense last year was 31st in the league. Only team worse was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that just shows how much trouble they were in last year. Teams were just running all over them. I mean, we saw it week after week after week. But look, I don't think we're going to see that again, because when you have those two guys in Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day up in the front, it's going to make life so much easier on the linebackers in the second level to move up, fill in those gaps, and take down the running backs in the backfield. Now this year, and I believe it's going to be year 3 for Kenneth Murray, this is a guy that I kind of wanted to talk about because he's been struggling since he's entered the league. But look, now that you have a really solid defensive line in front of you, and we're not even done talking about the additions they made there is a pretty big piece that we haven't talked about yet. But Kenneth Murray at the second level, he needs to step up. This needs to be the year that he proves that he was worth trading up for in the first round in the 2020 NFL draft, because there are no excuses now. You have all the talent in front of you. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to succeed with the players and the system that you're in right now. Now, probably the biggest name addition to this entire team this offseason was when the Chargers traded second-round pick for Khalil Mack, formerly of the Chicago Bears. Now, last season, he was plagued with injuries and didn't get to play a full season. But when Khalil Mack is on the field, he is one of the most disruptive edge rushers or linebackers, whatever you want to consider him, in the entire game. Obviously, his play has taken a dip since he was, in his prime, early Bears, when he was drafted by the Raiders. Wow, crazy to think that they were in Oakland when he was drafted. But anyway, Khalil Mack, right? You already have Joey Bosa on one side. You have to, guard the other side, which has Khalil Mack. That's just ridiculous. Now, this is a guy who sets the tone on the edge, and he's more than just a pass rusher. I mean, as a Minnesota Vikings fan, watching Khalil Mack twice a year for the past 4 years or so, he makes his money in the pass and the run game. He is an all-around edge rusher. Look, if he finds a way to stay healthy in Los Angeles, the Chargers got a complete dog. We all know that already. Khalil Mack, one of the best edge rushers of the time period. There's a reason why he was traded for 2 first-round picks. This defensive line got really good. I thought they were going to be in trouble because they wouldn't be able to sign back Uchenna Nwosu, but damn, they had a plan in mind, and they executed it to absolute perfection. All right, so we already mentioned about the secondary just a little bit, the pieces that they already have. Derwin James and Nasir Adderley are holding it down at the safety positions. Asante Samuel drafted in the second round of last year's draft. And then you also had Michael Davis, who was a guy who was getting a little hyped up last year for the Chargers, but had a very underwhelming season considering the expectations that were brought in for him for this 2021 season. So obviously, there's some holes in the secondary, and the Chargers went out and got some big-name guys to fill in those positions. The first one, obviously, being J.C. Jackson, former cornerback of the New England Patriots. He's playing with the chip on his shoulder now. He felt really disrespected when the Patriots decided not to bring him back. They feel like they're better off without him, not paying him. J.C. Jackson is out to prove something this year, and I think he's going to do very well at accomplishing that goal. Look, I think that J.C. Jackson is already a top 3, top 5, if you want to stretch it, cornerback in the league. Look, this guy knows how to create turnovers and play sticky coverage. He's making a ton of pass deflections, and I think he's better than a guy like Trevon Diggs, who has all-pro honors. Yes, Diggs got a ton of interceptions, but he also gave up a ton of huge plays throughout the course of the season. J.C. Jackson didn't give up many of those big plays, and I think played against better quarterbacks considering that he wasn't playing in the NFC East. I think J.C. Jackson is going to have another 5+ interception year, and he's going to be a huge turnover machine for this Chargers defense. I'm excited to see what he does, especially now that he's got some legit edge rushers. Matthew Judon, no disrespect to him, but he is not a Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack. When you can put pressure on the quarterback, it's going to force the quarterback to make worse throws, and it's going to allow guys like J.C. Jackson, who is an absolute ball hawk, to make an opportunity happen for the defense, create some turnovers, and allow Justin Herbert and that high-powered offense to go down and score a touchdown easily with less yardage to gain. And then finally, the last addition that I wanted to talk about was Bryce Callahan. Callahan is a smaller corner, had his struggles in Denver, but I know that he made a couple of plays against the Chargers last year, so obviously you're going to bring in a guy who created a little bit of trouble for you. So Callahan kind of solidifies the rest of that cornerback group that had some question marks. But look, now you're going to rock out that secondary with J.C. Jackson at the 1, Asante Samuel at the 2, and then Callahan at the 3. I'm really excited to see what this Chargers defense can do. Now, do I think they're going to be top 5? To be honest, although they have all the pieces, I'm not going to say that they're going to be a top 5 defense yet. And the only reason for that is not because the team isn't good. The reason why I'm making this video is because this defense on paper is one of the best in the entire league. But when you have to go up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense twice a year, no one's stopping them. There's a handful of teams, but I won't believe it until I see it type deal. It's the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, right? After that, you have Denver Broncos, right, who now have Russell Wilson, and they have a ton of weapons as well. You go Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. With Russell Wilson, come on. Russell Wilson has been one of the most unstoppable quarterbacks of the generation, and I don't see that changing this season with the Denver Broncos. And then also now with the Vegas Raiders, right, you have Devontae Adams, you have Hunter Renfrow, you have Darren Waller, and I think that Derek Carr is going to have himself a big season. The Chargers have 6 games in itself within the division that I think are going to be very difficult. I'm not saying that the Chargers defense can't do it, but there's going to be a lot of difficult matchups for this defense to go up against. Look, if this Chargers defense ends up being a top 10 unit, that's all they're going to need to potentially win this entire division and also potentially carry them all the way to the Super Bowl. So this Chargers defense, I'm really excited to see. And if they can stop the high-powered offenses of the AFC West, there's no reason why they shouldn't be competitive this year. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think that the Chargers defense can be a top 5 unit this year? On paper, I say yes, but I'm not going to believe it till I see it. You know, to see a team transition from the 31st worst run defense in the league to potentially a top 10, I mean, that's going to be a huge jump for this team. So I think that there's a lot of reasons why this Chargers fan base should be excited. But yeah, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Purple and Gold Podcast, and I'll see you guys all later. Peace.